What are the problems and challenges that investigative journalists face in the region? Do we have a solid regional cooperation, and is there room for improvement? How do authorities in the region threat investigative journalists? Is it safe to be an investigative journalist in Southeast Europe? There are just some aspects that will be part of this debate devoted to investigative journalism in the region. The title of the discussion is Investigative Journalism in the Region, Challenges and Perspectives. We have a few speakers that I will announce with their short biographies. And we'll start with ELISA Musliu from Albania, has been working for the past 15 years as an investigative journalist for the well-known program Fix Fair, top channel, national television in Albania. She has often worked and investigated on smugglers, corruption, political wrongdoing, environmental threats, and food safety. Her activities were extended beyond Albania to Italy, Greece, Macedonia. In June 2017, she won the EU First Prize for Investigative Journalism with her investigation. Okay, this is in Albanian. Plehrat Keham, the garbage we eat. ELISA, please join us on the stage.
Thank you.
Next one in this discussion is Milka Smilevska from Macedonia. And when it comes to Milka and her biography, when I find her, or I will have to say something that I know yet. Right, Milka? Yeah, but there is no biography on Milka here. Is there? No, there isn't. Good evening, Milka. Milka works as a correspondent for Al Jazeera Balkan. And she has been working alongside corruption in Macedonia for so many long.
Yes. I work in Alpha TV in period from 2008 until 2011. And I investigate a lot about the corruption in the Project Skopje 2014.
Yeah, the biggest one to work on. Thank you, Milka. You can take your seat. Mary Jordanovska, also from Macedonia. Investigative journalist Mary Jordanovska, for over a decade, has been covering topics related to organized crime, corruption, spending public funds, the judicial system, and the rule of law, as well as issues related to the media. She is a data journalist and a co-author of Skopje 2014 Uncovered, an extensive database of the structures in Skopje's makeover financed by public funds, Mediapedia, an award-winning project which maps the ownership of media in Macedonia, and Foreign Investments Uncovered, a database on the competition of foreign investments announced by the Macedonian government from 2007 to 2016. Jordanovska has won numerous awards for her investigative reports and remains a vigorous advocate for freedom of speech and the necessity of freedom of the press. Mary, please join us on the stage.
Thank you.
Mary. Next one on our list is Blaž Zgaga, a Slovenian freelance investigative journalist and an information hero for Reporters Without Borders. Blaž Zgaga is the co-author of In the Name of the State, a bestseller about arms trafficking in the Balkans in the 90s, when it was a regional specialty. In 2000, he exposed the existence of clandestine US intelligence operations in the Balkans and was facing a 5-year jail sentence for revealing military secrets until finally acquitted. Far from being discouraged, he went on to trigger a political earthquake in Slovenia by revealing that senior Slovenian officials had received kickbacks from a contract with a Finnish arms manufacturer. The many public figures hit by the scandal included former Prime Minister Janez Janša, who received a 2-year jail sentence in June 2013. Zgaga has received repeated death threats and has for years been hunted by intelligence services and many of his colleagues in Slovenia. He is a co-founder and director of the CPNS, Center for Investigative Journalism in Slovenia. Mr. Zgaga. Next in this discussion, Milica Voinovich is a member of the non-profit organization Crime and Corruption Reporting Network, CRIC, from Belgrade, Serbia. She is an investigative journalist, but also covers day-to-day matters and follows the most prominent corruption trials. Milica? Next one on our list is Daria Eurasian. The film producer and director Daria Eurasian graduated in filmmaking from the London Film Academy, LFA. His first feature film, The Boss, is part of a documentary serial about Croatian proprietors. Eurasian has written, directed and produced over 50 short films in different genres. Dario? Okay, he will join us later. And Pari Moluri is the last but not the least. Executive Director of the news portal Insideri and also a member of the Balkan Network for Investigative Journalism. He is well known for his research bringing evidence on the involvement of the brothers of former Prime Minister of Kosovo Hashim Tači in different businesses and also the business activities of the Speaker of the Parliament Kadri Veseli. He was also the author of the research servicing tender on the BMW X5 vehicle won by the sons of the former Prime Minister Isa Mustafa. This research echoed during 2015 and pushed Prime Minister Mustafa to cancel the contract he signed with his son's business. Moreover, as he moved his activities to the news portal Insideri, became well known for the investigation named Dacia Ešefave, which has revealed the influence, bribery and nepotism of the ruling party PDK in all public and independent institutions. Other investigations include Dacia Grande, on investigation on visa fraud, El Chapo, an investigation related to an imprisoned businessman that was accused of aggravated attempted murder, but still his business received millions of euros on tenders from the municipality of Štrpce, Kosovo, and many other investigations that can be found at insidery.com. Parim? And our moderator on this discussion. Macedonian journalist Snežana Lupevska-Sozen has founded her own production company, Trinity Plus, where she creates the investigative television program Code. Starting her career as a reporter for the prominent Macedonian television A1 in 1994, Lupevska follows stories connected to domestic policy, crime and corruption, and in 1997 becomes the television's news editor. She has authored and produced Code since 2007 at first for A1 TV and later as a product of her own company, airing on Channel 5 and Telma TV. Apart from Code, Trinity Plus Production develops other TV serials on different subjects, such as the programs for marginalized groups, the rights of the LGBT community, the decentralization process in Macedonia, as well as segments dedicated to Macedonian innovative business ventures and the world's leading PR and management professionals. Sneža?
Thank you very much, and thank you for your, all of you are here this evening for discussion how is the investigative journalism in the region. My general opinion that it's not easy to be investigative journalist in the region because we have a lot of pressure. In general, I think that all the countries they face with the pressure, with the government pressure. And also, for example, in Macedonia, in my country, we have a loss of trust in journalism, not only in investigative journalism, in general in journalism, but it's not good news for us. And also, we face with psychical attacks, intimidation sometimes, Even death threats also we have, but some of us during this year were called with very bad names. For example, that we are enemies of the state, or that we are foreign agents, and a lot of pressure in that, or our families, our relatives, and our colleagues also. But in general, the situation in my country these past years, maybe not this year, was very big links and very hard links between media owners and politicians. Good evening. And they put also financial and political pressure in a lot of, in general, in commercial media. And some of the media and journalists, they don't have maybe repression, they have only pressure. And that pressure means no prison, no attacks, no open harassment, but pressure in economical and financial also. They lost their jobs, they lost the place to write, to editing, to shoots, and we have in general not very nice situation. I hope that with your debates you will show how it's in your countries, how is during your working time, and it is any possibility to be more stronger together and to cooperate for some similar stories and issues and problems also, because we are connected, but we don't have maybe that strong network. And I hope that during this debate we will find a way how to do it, and with your questions and with our answers, maybe to have some plan in the future how to do that together. And I will open this debate because we have, I think, maybe hour and 15 minutes for this debate. Maybe somebody of you like to be first, or to start how you sit on this couch. Okay.
I guess I'll start. Should I speak about, in general, about the atmosphere in the region? Or
yes, but I would like also to hear how it's in your country and problems. Do you work with other journalists from the region for some stories? How is your experience in that? Do you have more pressure if you choose some story what is regional, or pressure is more if it's a story from your country? Or how you face with all of the problems?
Yes, well, I'm from Belgrade, from Krik. And, well, I can start with the last question. We, Krik, faced most pressure when we published the stories about our government, especially our now president, then Prime Minister Vučić. When we investigated his properties and businesses and everything about him and his career, that's when the most pressure came, and it was mostly, and that's how it's usually done in Serbia, it's mostly from the pro-government media. So the smear campaigns and the attacks from the pro-government media, especially the tabloid Informer, that's the usual thing how it goes with our investigations. So whenever we publish something big, we can expect the attacks from those kind of media, or as we call them, tabloids. So, but that's actually not the first thing. That's the consequence of the atmosphere where institutions are involved, and institutions are more and more used against journalists, like security agencies. We had our editor Stevan, his picture with his source in somewhere in the street was published in Informer. So we have reasons to believe that journalists are being followed and taken pictures of them, maybe even listened to. Some conversations appear in those kind of tabloids and media. So that's the most pressure we have now. Of course, we had recently more brutal attack when our colleagues Dragana, she's the main investigative journalist in in Krik, so her apartment was broken into and nothing was stolen, just things were all over the apartment. So it's been 4 months since then. Everyone is now starting definitely to believe that it has something to do with her job. So we have our Minister of Interior Affairs. He's saying that this case will be solved, that we have to, I don't know, take care of the journalists and everything. But every month when I write the report and I call, there's nothing in the investigation. So that's something more brutal that has happened recently. But before, and of course now, it's mostly those attacks in the media that is completely pro-government and is writing in their favor and in some way defending them when we write and investigate them. So.
And how is your experience during the investigation? If you have some information from the government or from some institution, or to compare some numbers, maybe some banal things, not crucial, do you have answers? They give you all information? Do you wait a long time? They wait to pass time?
Of course, that's, I don't know, maybe we even got used to that. That's like the more normal thing, that you won't get the crucial informations about, like we had the Savamala incident and the things that are like, let's say, controversial and should be public information and people should know what happened. So those kind of information are usually like, we had to wait, I think, for a year to get the police report from the incident. So it's a difficult thing to get the information from them. We are lucky to have our commissioner for public information. He's pretty helpful. He almost always rules in our favor, says that those kind of information are of public interest. So we let's say in some cases, or maybe most cases, when we get the information, it's because of the punishments that he by the law can punish those institutions. So after like a month or a year, we somehow get the information, but not always. We are still like waiting for the working record, how should I say, of our Prime Minister and our now President and our ex-President Tomislav Nikolic. So we asked for that, like, I think maybe 2 years ago or something, but we can't get that still, even though Commissioner said we should. So there are some information that we still can get. So.
And during these years, I noticed that the sources, it's very hard to find the sources about good story, to have documents, and the people, they're afraid, for example, in my country, to speak openly and to give you documents and information. How is your experience or an experience of your colleagues?
Well, me personally, I'm pretty young. I'm maybe a year in Greek now, so I don't have a lot of experience with the sources, but I can say that people who are writing, who are approaching us, they are always scared. They are always, I think, some information that they send us, even though if it's not, they are not so controversial information or things they should be really scared of, they are always saying that they don't want their name published. Of course, we say them it wouldn't be. But I get the atmosphere that people are pretty scared to talk.
Thank you. I'm sorry because of questions, but if you have something to share with us, please later be comfortable to do that. Yeah. Mr. Zgaga, do you have maybe better experience than me and my colleague from Serbia? And how is your experience during this year? Because you are a journalist maybe more than 25 years. And what is harder now? And we're living in the time of democracy, but in our investigative journalism, sometimes we have a loss of democracy. And how is your experience? Maybe you have more positive examples than we.
Good evening. I'm coming from Slovenia, which is European Union member since 2004, in Eurozone since 2007, and from Polish public relation picture, everything is fine. But in reality, it is a deeply corrupted country. For example, governor of central bank is under criminal investigation for more than 200 million euros of damages. We have another trial for thermal power plant where a foreign contractor received 250 million euros illicit gains. Then we have, last week it was published that former state prosecutor general is now suspended and also in criminal investigation for abuse of office. So there are many such cases, but usually they are quite underreported because mainstream media, private media, face a kind of consolidation. They are all owned by oligarchs who are all under criminal investigation and on trials for gross economic crimes. So being investigative journalist in a small country like Slovenia, it's not really a big problem to identify a story. It's not a big problem to finish investigation. Major problem is how to reach wider audience. I think every investigative journalist in the region is facing similar problem. So sometimes there's a question why to spend months of work and then this story will end on one website or blog which nobody reads. So I think it's really important to establish cross-border collaboration. Basically, how to say, despite I received many awards, I working with last year with major European newspaper like Spiegel, Mediapart, L'Espresso, and working regional stories, European stories. I am persona non grata in Slovenian media, so my articles haven't been published for last year because I investigated both the right side of political landscape and the left side, former communists, and they are controlling media. So, but anyway, yes, it was quite difficult. Also, I had not only threat but also serious operation against me, intelligence one. But cross-border collaboration is actually saving me for the last 10 years. I quit in 2008, and then I initially started collaborating with Croatian colleagues Saša Leković and Bosnian Esad Hachimović, and then wider. And what it offers, first, it's actually, how to say, psychological assistance. I mean, you're not alone. There are people outside who have same values, same attitude, who are working on same field, and we investigated and published great stories together. Then second is, yes, as I said, if you cannot publish in your own country, you can publish in neighbor country. And so it will be spill over back to your own country. So it's a kind of a bypass. Currently I'm working, what's maybe interesting, for Croatian weekly magazine Nacional regularly. So Slovenia and Croatia have now diplomatic disputes, and they are, for 25 years, politicians are abusing this small delimitation process just to gain points at every elections. These problems, it always comes to the top media light just before the elections. And so, how to say, Slovenian journalists working with Croatian, and it's really, how to say, Interesting because there are different viewpoints. From Slovenia, editor is for Croatia. Now I'm writing for Croatian audience. I really need to consider what should be interesting for other country. But basically, I believe that, as I said in the beginning, the most important thing for investigative journalists is how to reach wider audience. And maybe a solution is like we started in European Investigative Collaboration, which is a network of 12 established media, and which is not like IKJ or OCCRP or any other organization founded by grants, by donors, but basically these media are investing their own money, financing reporters specifically just to work on this project, and some investigation lasts for 1 year. One man is doing just 1 year and then share it with anybody. So this kind of collaboration where the sources are undisputable, because if, how to say, some government is financing one journalist NGO, it's always a question mark. What is the interest, or if it is really impartial or not. And I mean, how to say, it's really, I visited many investigative journalism conferences, and I was always trying to get as much contact as possible, discussing face-to-face with people, establish our networks. And yes, in some way it brings some fruit. It ended with great investigation, which are published simultaneously in many different countries. So my advice is you need to fight all the time, never stop. And if you cannot enter through the doors which are closed, you can always find a window or some other small hole and back in, get in. Thank you.
Yeah, but during these years we have a different experience about the finance and money for investigative projects. For example, I remember a few years ago in my country, the donors, they gave more money for children programs than for investigative journalism. That was very, very hard to have any projects in investigative journalism because, like you mentioned, the oligarchs keep the media, politicians put the pressures, money for commercial not coming for investigative journalism. And how is your experience with the donors? How to open that windows? And they know that is crucial, and all the donors in general, they support investigative journalism, and in all European reports is one of the main issue. But in real, we don't have money to manage the network and to write the stories and to investigate 1 year.
Frankly speaking, I do not have a lot of experiences with donors because one of negative consequence of your country becoming European Union member is that you are not eligible for European funds for media freedom because you are in some way normal democracy and media is treated like any other industry, so it cannot get any state aid, and basically all the foundations, Western European ones, are often following European Union rules, so they are not financing Slovenian independent journalists. So that's why it's also so difficult in Slovenia to establish any independent website, for example. Okay, you can work for free, but you still need to pay your bills every month. But I have one experience. For example, we received a grant from Open Society Fund for a book trilogy for translation into Croatian language and promotion, and it was, how to say, very professional. They didn't ask, how to say, they didn't interfere in our work in any way, just they were trying to help us as much as possible. But as I said, whenever you have grant funding, it's always, how to say, it's not sustainable. When a grant will be finished, then what will you do? So I believe that in the longer term, any investigative journalist or group of journalists should try to find a kind of sustainable model which will enable them to operate also when grants will expire. For example, when Macedonia will become a member of EU, you will face the same problem. It will be just, how to say, normal parliamentary democracy and all media owned by oligarchs, and you will just remain without these sources. So this is a real danger, what can happen. And I believe, I would like to say this national model, you probably all know that its founder and owner was killed in bomb assassination in 2008. Their newspaper was closed down, and then his best investigative reporter, Berislav Jelenic, bought the trademark, and archive, and restarted it. And he's at the same time now founder, director, and editor-in-chief, and also he's still writing. It's a very small team. But basically, it's really, how to say, it's like a dream to work with him, because you know there's nobody behind. It's no boss or any corporation, any oligarch who is misusing, abusing his media for his business deal, like so often, both in Slovenia and I think many other Balkan countries. So it's still not sure whether it will succeed or not. We are fighting every week, as it is weekly, but from my perspective, it is one model. Okay. Is it one model which shows maybe a higher possibility to achieve sustainable model? And basically, we are all the victims of technological change, because Google, Facebook, and all these Silicon Valley giants, they are killing major media, so like New York Times, Le Monde, L'Express, all. And how should then we start something new? Because also online they are collecting 80–90% of all advertising revenues, mostly then channel them through tax havens without any tax paid. But we are all in some way the victims, because all business models disappeared. They have big problems, and we, mostly independent freelance journalists who are still fighting for truth, we have gone against this establishment journalism, who are often working in the interest of the owners and political elites. So yes, it's a big challenge how to find some sustainable model which will not last only for duration of the project for 1 or 2 years, but maybe for decades. So I think it is a big challenge for all of us. And maybe I shared with you some useful information, I hope.
Thank you very much. And that you share your experience, and also, but that is good that you're optimistic that something will be good if we are together, only to find a model, because all of us, we have experience that after the finishing the projects, we can work together again, we will find another maybe source of money, and that is the problem. Another country from European Union, with, yes, from this perspective, from my country, because we are not European Union, always we are thinking that in your country is better, that the owners are not that much connected with the oligarchs, and they use more money for investigative stories, but this is example that is not the dream, is not true. How is your experience, Mr. Eurasian?
First of all, I want to apologize for being here, because I'm not a journalist. Second of all, Blaž is so smart, and everything what he said I support, and I can copy-paste 99% of his remarks. So, and I will skip that. And I will talk about successful business model, because I see that you're all hungry to see something new. So I'll tell you something that we managed to keep up and to even be in a plus. So what we did is we did a movie. We did a research, we did a movie, we did a book, and we put a movie into the cinemas. We sold the movie to TV, we sold the book, the parts of the book we sold to the newspapers, and also we offered extra articles to the weekly and daily papers. And then we did a new movie, and then we recycled the first one. So we are in the middle now of production of the third and fourth movie, and we are kind of recycling some archive footage that we bought or shoot from the first one. So we actually, when we're going to come to the fifth one, we're going to have a huge archive, huge database, because when we do the research work, first what we do is we make a huge database. So our database is, for the first movie it was 350 pages, for the second movie it was 550, and so we invested big money into these databases, and because we built these databases, we can respond very quickly to the last 20 years of Croatian history. For instance, Prime Minister says PricewaterhouseCoopers never did business with this biggest Croatian company called Agrokor. And I went to our database and said, oh my God, that's not true. So our investment in this database proved as a good investment. So with every movie, with every project, we are building our knowledge, and we sell our knowledge. So how do we know that the people will buy the articles? We shoot really high. So first movie was the biggest. So there, until last year, we had 2 taboos in the country. The first was the biggest company in the region, which is called Agrokor. Now Agrokor is it's worth 1 dinar, and the second taboo is the banks. So the banks are not good for film, but then in the second movie we decided to the second biggest problem in Croatia is the court system. So we targeted the president of the highest court in Croatia. So the higher we shoot, and the bigger the taboo is, the bigger the response is from the audience. And of course, there is a struggle with the mainstream media to publish these articles, movies, TVs, but it's a long run, and we enter the race, but we don't enter to compete, we enter to win. And when we win, these guys are down, and this is our business model. So we are the vultures in a positive way. I'm joking, but I don't see any other business model, because everything's down. So the big corporations don't have investigative teams. When you have a really great story, they give you pocket money. So they discourage you to make effort. So why would I risk my time, my life, my money, and get paid with the pocket money? And then you end up in internet, which is, people are lazy and don't want to pay. We are making a crowdfunding campaign, and I see on the Facebook comments like, so you're a journalist, well you're getting the money to bring this information out, because people are just getting lazy, They click on the internet and get the news and think they know everything. They don't know the 99% of the stuff what's behind this, So because we are not feeding the audience. The media is not feeding the audience with the proper story, so they get junk, you know. Because I see the corporations are making the cheap internet magazines which take the news from the national agencies, they rebuild it, and they make trash articles. You know, it's cheap, it's funny, it's porn in a way, and you cannot compete with that, you know. And even the leading Croatian internet site is a bastard of porn and investigative journalism, you know. But then if you make an article, how long can the article be on internet in a size way? People don't want to read more than 2 sides, and then they're probably fed up, and then, you know, so the classical media, which we really like and that we're like used to, is kind of dying, you know, and the business model is also dying. So that's why I told to my colleagues that they need to change, you know. That's why we completely made a new model. Yeah, but I'm lucky because I'm not coming from the field of journalist. I just like, I managed to combine journalism with filmmaking, and our model is successful. But our first movie, when we did the movie, the cinemas didn't want to show the movie. The TV didn't want to buy it. But on the long run, when our guy went down, I got calls every day. How much, you know, how much does it cost? We're going to buy it. I sold the movie in 3 minutes. You know, so it's just a matter of time. But we have time, you know. And we earned enough money to bring a new movie and the new story and the new book and the new articles. So it's a long run. But I also need to be honest. The money that we're making, it's the money for production, you know. So that means I can play with another article, with another book. But we also do, I don't have a job. I have 5 jobs, you know. I have 5 jobs. I work parallel on 5 to 10 projects, you know. What brings my money is workshops, from journalist workshop, film workshop, so I'm a busy bee, you know. So I think the classical journalism is just, I don't see it.
I'm trying the same, but it's very hard.
Okay.
For example, in my country, we don't have a market to sell documentaries and to sell programs. Only they will put some commercial time for your program, and you will put on the program on some TV station for 0 money.
Okay, I totally agree, but I must also be said that there is never a market for a documentary. So what we did is we played a game. The game is called National Television and Public Interest. So this is the public TV. And I made a movie which you all said, well, it's a great movie, the public needs to see it. And you said, oh, put it on the internet. I said, no. I said to the public TV, no, public TV will screen it and will pay the money to me. And you said, and they said, oh, we don't, you know what, we'll think about it. And then I said, guys, they just said that they don't want to show the movie to you. Did you hear well? This is the public TV. So it's a game, you know. I'm going to win this game. I'm winning the game, but it's a cat and mouse, you know. And what I did, or what the strategy is, I put the public letter to the director of the public TV and say, you know what, I blame you personally for not showing the movie. And then, you know, you think that it doesn't work, but it works really well. Because the politicians in the opposition likes you. The first row hates you and they're scared of you. And then in some moment they decide to call the director and said, buy the movie and let's keep him quiet. So it's just a game, and you just need a patience to win this game.
You know these games better than us because we are first of all journalists, you are a producer, and the producers they have more feeling for that.
This is just the mouse. I'm the cat, you know, I win. But the mouse always hides. It's like a politician who is leading the country. You know, they never know anything. They're not in charge of anything. The decision will be tomorrow. You know what I'm talking about? No, you're going to make decision today. I'm going to force you. This is the public who's going to support me. If you don't have a public to support you, then your case is dead. So everyone supports me except the fat mouse. But, you know, I think it works. It works perfectly. But this story that you have, it needs to be in public interest.
For this great model, and we will try. And also, only one short question: who financed the first movie, first projects?
We started on our own, and then we made a package, and the package looked like $1 million. And that actually, the first big money came from Croatian Film Fund, and the second from the Culture Fund, the third from the crowdfunding campaign. So we earned enough money to finance the whole second movie. So we're like actually doing third and fourth already in kind of in production. Yeah. And also because we shoot so much, we have so much material that we can make a mini series. But like I told you, when we did the movie, there was no television that wanted to screen the movie. None. But I knew in the long run that I'm the winner. Because if you have such a strong material, and if this is the audience who wants to see this material, you're the winner. You know? You're the winner. So I encourage you, if you have a story which public wants to see and hear, you're the winners. You will find the way.
Thank you very much, and to find a good producer like you. Mary Jordanovska, she is my colleague from here, and we faced with a lot of stories during these years. And Mary, how is your experience during the big stories here in Macedonia?
Hello, everybody. I have to admit I'm a little bit confused right now because this is the first time since I'm speaking about investigative journalism and the challenges since the fall of the regime of Nikola Gruevski. We are all used to speaking about how much information we don't get, how the spokesperson of some ministry doesn't pick up the phone, how they don't give us documents, and so on, how we are wiretapped right now, how we're afraid to speak on the phone. So this is the first time to speak about the challenges since the new government is on power. So I think it's a little bit early to speak about what we are facing right now, because now is the period when all the ministries are open, they're all willing to give the documents to say, here we have a story, here you should look up to this, because everybody wants to speak about what the others did wrong, and but I think that the times will come, they surely will come, when they will do something wrong. So then I'm very afraid that they will not be as transparent as they are now. But as I said, I'm a little bit confused because now the spokespersons of the ministry pick up the phone and they answer and they give documents, they give what you ask for. But I have to admit that I'm still very afraid of that this can turn into what was, and that's up to us also on how we will manage all this transitional period, because we are all used to seeing pressures to journalists. We all have traumas from the regime, and we are all used to discreditation, like calling us Sorosoids, as you said, calling us traitors of the country. So I'm very afraid that these times there is a big chance that these times will come again if we let them. Because I think that the most important thing right now in Macedonia is the integrity of the journalist. Because we see now on the televisions, on the mainstream media, ones who were pro-governmental back then, they're pro-governmental right now. They were criticizing the government, they were criticizing the oppositional party back then, and now when this political party is in the government, they're not criticizing it. Now it's okay, back then it wasn't. So the same faces were saying something else 5 months ago, and they're saying something else right now. And also what I'm seeing in these last months is double standards. People who were pro-SDSM, that's the new government right now, the political party who is on the power, were criticizing things that were doing the VMRO-DPMNE, and right now when the same political party is doing the same thing, now it's okay. So those are the things that are bothering me in some way, seeing how the journalists are losing integrity and how journalists are having double standards when the profession is online. So that's why I think that investigative journalism is very rare in Macedonia. I have the privilege to work in Balkan Investigative Reporting Network, which is a regional network. We have the privilege to work 6 months on one story, on one database, to dig up documents, to work day and night, to wait for answers, to have the time to wait for a couple of months to get an answer, which is not the case in other mainstream media and other web portals. So I think that we are one of the few media in Macedonia who are practicing investigative journalism and are facing all these challenges. And but as I said, we are very few. We are very few that we can prove that if you criticize the government, it doesn't mean that you don't love your country. That's what we've been trying to prove for 10 years, and I think we're still trying to prove it. So that's why I think that also we have the privilege to work regional, to cooperate with other media across the region, to publish our stories in other media outside Macedonia, which is also very important for people to hear the voice. But as I said, I'm still very afraid that there are many challenges that we have to face right now when we have this new government and this whole new system, whole new democracy that we are not used to, and to be the watchdogs of how this will turn on.
My experience is that this government is very open for the news or investigative story about previous government, but they are not that much open if we ask about their, I don't know, who are two members of the government who are under investigation because of corruption, for example.
As I said, this tendency has been going on for these last 2 months. Like when you ask somebody, when you ask some member of the government who is about something that happened in 2010, they're all willing to speak up. But when you ask them about their members of the government, now they don't pick up the phone. So that's why I see this tendency, and that's what I'm afraid of, as I said.
And can you give us an example how you work together with the journalists from the region? Because Prisma and Birns, you have a regional story, or you have, for example, some topic of what is some Macedonian problem, but you like to know how is in the other country. Are you comparing? Are you investigate more? And how is the model of cooperation?
Yeah, well, mostly, which is a very good thing. Our stories are being translated to all the other BIRN members in the other countries, which is a good thing, that so the readers in other countries can see what's going on in Macedonia. Also, we have a network. We have sources from other. If we need a member from the government in Serbia, for example, we can cooperate. We cooperate like that. So there are lots of ways that we can work together. Since now, in this 3 years, as I'm working in Balkan Investigative Reporting Network, we haven't done a story together, all of us. Which is in plan. We are going to do that, but it's enough for now the other countries to hear to hear what's going on in here, because we are very closed over here. Not many news from Macedonia are spread around the region.
Remember one of the story on Biran or Prisma was about the one of the ministers and Peshevsky, I think, about
His
offshore companies and how is cooperation if you need more information from other countries for their businesses out of the country, because everything is covered up and it's not easy to find.
Yeah, and it's very good that Birn also has like people who are good up into digging documents, especially from the international ones, which in Macedonia it's very hard to find such such person who can dig up documents from other countries, who can dig up in the registers, find companies where they're registered and for how much and who is the owner. So yeah, that was a good example of a good investigative story, which was done with people outside of Macedonia, because they were also digging up. Also, we had an example where we found a foreign company in Macedonia. They were like a foreign investment in Macedonia. They were announced by the government as a big company that will invest in Macedonia from Germany. So with our colleagues from Germany, they went to the place where the company is registered, and they found nothing. Like, there is no company. It's a postbox office that was opened 2 months ago, and there was nothing. There was railways and a sign of the company and no company on it. So that's how when we're in a situation we don't have enough money to travel to Germany and to find out what's going on and to find fixers and people who know people, it's a better way with this cooperation to make the story quicker and cheaper. So that's very important for a country where the money is the biggest problem for the media.
And this is another model how to cooperate. For example, for journalists who don't have enough money to go out of the country and to connect with the colleagues from the other country to investigate together and to save money for traveling. Thank you very, very much. And Milka, maybe for you is easier, I don't know, because you are not work for our national TV, you are international correspondent, Al Jazeera. But do you face with any problems during the work here, and how manage, because maybe they are like to say that you are from here, but you are work for Al Jazeera for some enemy, maybe.
Yes, thank you for the question. Yes, of course, I'm from here, from Macedonia. I'm a Macedonian journalist, but I work for a regional TV station. But also I live the influence of the political situation and the treatment of the journalists here in Macedonia. And I want to say one example of my job. For every one of us, the most interesting, I think, period of our work was when the oppositioner in that time, Zoran Zaev, start to talk about the taped conversation, and we start to inform about this affair. And I think in that time was very important to my job for regional Al Jazeera because with my informing what's happened here in Macedonia, I actually have an impact on the regional public and the regional media to hear what's happened here in Macedonia, that something big actually happened, and how extent is this affair. And I think that after that, in next couple of months, in spring of 2015, a lot of media from the region came here and informed about the political crisis in Macedonia. And that it was very painful from regime in that time, and that they use his connection with Qatar and with Doha, and they make direct connection with the Al Jazeera network, and they say that I corresponded for Al Jazeera Balkans doesn't inform on correct way, and they make pressure on them to find some way to stop me in my work. But I'm very happy because I work in one professional media, and my main manager in Sarajevo cover me and say that in many times we ask for interview with Prime Minister Gruevski in that time, but he never give answer of our calls, because I want to say that, I mean, everybody knows here that from Macedonia, especially that actually we don't have occasion to work professionally, because they don't answer on our calls to be our guest, to give his statement about some subjects. And actually, usually we go with only with one side, with opposition sides in that time. And that was, I mean, common problem for all the journalists in Macedonia in that time. Also, I will want to say that I'm very proud of my work in period of from 2008 to 2011, when we work in Alpha TV. That was very good, small crew, and we investigate a lot about the controversial architectural project Skopje 2014. And I was in that time between the rare journalists who work on this subject, and I editing a lot of about how much money, millions of euro, was spent on that buildings, administrative buildings and monuments. And I think that my investigation in that time have influence on the public influence, but also I make some influence to opposition in that time to wake up and to investigate itself on this very, I mean, yeah, controversial project. Yes, yes. And after that, I think I mean, that is.
One question about Al Jazeera's works. If you have a problem here in Macedonia to do some story, some investigative story, because of pressure from government, oligarchs, and other center of power, it is easier to call some colleague from Belgrade or Zagreb or Sarajevo to come here and to do that, not you, and are you use that safe situation maybe to be more safe?
Yes, honestly, from the center they offer me that kind of help, but I reject them because I think that I from here locally can do the work the best, and the base that was my job. I mean, and I don't have any, you know, threats or public pressure. They ignore me. Yes, they pretend that I don't exist. I mean, and actually, when my main manager from Sarajevo called me and told me that they called the Doha. I mean, they called Doha. They used his connection for one small correspondent bureau from one journalist and two cameramen. That was very, I don't know.
But you have a support from
yes, yes, completely. They support me completely. They cover me. They say that I don't have a reason to care, and they know that I mean, generally we have very high professional standards in the TV station, and I don't have occasion, honestly, to inform on unprofessional way.
Thank you very much, Milka. And Mr. Pari Moluri, I saw that you have a very interesting story about ownerships, but on this, your introduction always is connected with some big faces in Kosovo, politicians and their sons, relatives. And do you have any threats and maybe serious threats for your life or for life or your family maybe, or it's easier to work in Kosovo for this kind of service?
Mirëmbrëma, unë kisha preferu me folë në shqip sepse nuk jam I mirë në gjuhën angleze. Kolegu vullnet do të më ndihmoj.
Good evening. I will speak in Albanian because I can say better in my language.
Problemet në Kosovë nuk dallojnë shumë prej problemeve që I kanë vendet e tjera të Ballkanit.
Even in Kosovo, we have the same problems that is in all the Balkan states.
Ndryshojnë vetëm format.
It's changed only the forms of the pressure.
Kur pata fillu në gazetarin vitin 2007,
When I started to work like a journalist in 2007,
një vit me vonë pata largu prej punës për shkak që botuesit gazetës jo patën largu 2 klientë të marketingut.
one year later, I was forced to end the contract because 2 of the companies who were like commercial in the newspaper, they gone.
Botuesi ka qenë botuesi tash është nën kryetari I Partisë Demokratike të Kosovës, që është më që ka më shumë të pushtet në Kosovë.
The owner was now the deputy of the Democratic Party of Kosovo.
Pse po themi që ka ndryshuar format, është fakti që në Kosovë ka shumë portale online.
In Kosovo, we have a lot of online media that we call portals, so they are most of the portals.
Që I kanë hapë gazetarë gjeneratës të re të pakënaqur me mediat ekzistuese.
Those media, they were open from journalists who were not happy what's going on in the online media in Kosovo.
Tash nuk ndodhë si në 2007 ku një parti blen let 4 mediumet të vetmet në një shtet, por forma presionit ushtrohet ndryshe.
Now we don't have the parties who are like sending money to these 4 or 7 media, but they change the forms of the pressure.
Me datën 16 gusht këtij viti, unë jam sulmu afër banesës time nga 3 veta.
3 months ago, in August 16th, I was attacked from 3 people.
Ku e shoh këto formën e presionit. E shoh tem injurimi total I rastit prej organeve shtetërore, policisë dhe prokurorisë.
The problem is not the attack, the problem is the state. Now we are the 3rd month and the police didn't arrest anyone.
Ne kemi bërë kërkesë si medium policisë dhe prokurorisë që gjirimet e kamera me na I mundsu, me na I dhonë dhe me na I mundsu me u publiku në Insider.
We was like asking to the police if they can give us to the camera the image from the cameras, and we wanted to publish in Insider because if the police is not arresting them, so we wanted to show, but the police didn't give us.
Ata nuk kanë pranuar me arsyetimin se munden më prish hetimet.
They said that we can interrupt in the courts things they are doing.
Tash në 2017 për dallim për 10 viteve shoh presionin në këtë formë nga shteti, në pamundësinë me ndalu gjitha portalet online për me publiku artikuj e shet tek mos ofrimi I sigurisë për ta.
So the form now we are under pressure is direct in the state. So the state now they cannot close the media because there are a lot of them, but now they are trying to explain that being journalist it's not easy and it's dangerous, and they are not solving the attackers. So the journalists are attacked, but the police don't do nothing.
Tash në pamundësi me blet gjitha mediat online, Kuvendi I Kosovës është shndruar në një arenë ku deputet flasin javë për javë kundër gazetarëve.
Now the media is out of control from the politicians. In the parliament, it's the debate now, it's who has the portal and which portal, and in the same time, they are accusing more and more journalists directly from the parliament.
Kemi një rast me një deputet të pushtetit, është Milajm Zeka.
Lately, it was one deputy from the position, Milajm Zeka.
Ai në Kovend ka thënë që Parimulluri është I lidhur me ISIS-in.
In the parliament, he was like publicly saying that Parimulluri is connected to ISIS.
Insideri është në pronësi të BIA-s serbe.
And that insider, it's owned by BIA in Serbia, the agency of intelligence in Serbia.
Komentet në insider kanë qenë fysë ofenduese për krejt stafin pas kësaj deklarate.
Now all the comments on our page in Insider in Facebook are like against us, and they are accusing us of being in Serbia and directed to ISIS.
Ne kemi tentuar me folë me deputet tjerë me kryesitë të Kuvendit pse nuk I shqiptohet vrejtje kur fyn gazetar, po qëndrimi I tyre ka qenë që me injoru deputetin se nuk është mirë diçka.
We asked the parliament and to do something to stop the deputy talking for Insider, and what they said, it was like, just ignore, he's stupid.
Tash, përveç këtij deputeti shoh gjithë politikanët përdorin Facebookun e tyre për me I shpall tradhtar ose njerëz shërbimeve sekrete gazetar.
So now every time that we publish an investigated or a story that it's big and it's became important, we have politicians who go directly to Facebook and write this kind of stuff, that we are part of ISIS, that we are...
Ne në Kosovë kemi arrit me gjetë shtigje, me pas në menaxhem mediume të vogla për kapaciteti financiar dhe që publikojnë tema ulëmtuese, po problemi jonë është sulmet publike të deputetëve, që është deputetëve ministrave, që është vetëm një formë e tyre me ju revanshu media.
We get used from the attacks from like the other group of the interest, but now it's becoming very dangerous because now we have politicians who directly attacked journalists.
Pasion jam 2 muaj pasion jam sulmuar në gusht, është sulmuar dhe kolegu im para 3 javë.
2 months after they attacked me, the editor-in-chief of Insider, Mr. Vibeke Kajtazi, was also attacked in the middle of the day in the center of Pristina.
Edhe ai njëjtë siguron e ka qenë pjesë e fushatave të njollueses dhe të emërtimit si spion serb, pjesë e shërbimeve sekrete.
The same deputy and the other politicians, they made the same statement for him also. They said that he is connected to secret agency in Belgrade and that he has some connection to ISIS.
Çfarë kemi bërë na, është që kemi ngrit padi në gjykata, por ende nuk janë trajtu. Janë dikon 4 padi që kemi ngrit veç ndaj një deputeti.
And the same situation is also in court. So till now we have we sue him 4 times for 4 different things, and the prosecutor and the court didn't do nothing till now.
Problem tjetër në Kosovë, unë mendoj që është edhe përplasja mes gjeneratave të mendësisë mes gazetarëve.
The other problem that I see, like in Kosovo, is the difference between the generation in the media, online media in Kosovo.
Unë shoh që gjenerata vjetër ende nuk mundet me u liru prej gazetarisë nacionaliste.
The old journalists, they are still stuck in the nationalism, so when they report, they also do in nationalism way.
Unë kam shkruar shumë për bizneset e ish-komandantëve të UÇK-s.
I investigated and I write a lot about the business who own from the ex-commander of Kalea, the army of Kosovo.
Tash Lushtaku është kryetar komune, Remi është biznesmen I madh, Recep Selimi është deputet, dhe gjenerata e vjetra gazetarëve shpesh të targeton si njëri që e shonu çykën.
Most of them, they are the mayor of the municipalities, they are deputies, they are ministers. So when we write about their business, people start to attack us that we are writing against the war, against the commanders in the war.
Pyetja më e shpeshtë që na shtrohet është se po shkruani më shumë për Lushtakun se sa për Dikovićin.
A lot of comments in our media that why you are writing about our hero and you are not writing about the Serbian.
One question, how is with the influence of your story on your website and the other media? For example, traditional media, are they publishing the same story and to put the sources that you are the source of that information because you have a serious investigative stories and they like to show that story or to write about that, or they're afraid and only you or few people are doing that?
Edhe kur kam qenë më herët në gazeta Jeta në Kosovë, pjesë e Birnin.
Even when I was part of Bern, gazeta Jeta në Kosovë in Prishtina.
Edhe tash me Insajderin e shoh që ndodhe njëjta.
And now with Insajderi is the same thing.
Artikujt që janë shumë ndjeshëm nuk ripublikohen nga mediat e mëdha.
The sensitive stories, they are not published from the biggest media in Kosovo.
Vitin e kaluar po ta bën një artikull se çysh Telekomi I Kosovës pa të angazhuar avokat, ish avokat e biznesmenit Blerim Devolli.
Last year I made a story for PTK, is the Post and Telecommunication in Kosovo, how they arranged a lawyer who was connected to the company who has like in business between PTK and Devolli. Devolli is the corporation, biggest corporation in Kosovo. So the PTK arranged the lawyer who is protecting Devolli. They were in arbitrage in the court against each other. Sorry for my bad English. In the same time, the PTK and the Devolli, they are the two biggest company who has more commercial in the media. None of the media didn't publish this story. And
portalet të caktuara ose media të caktuara kur e shohin që kanë interes kundër një biznesmeni ose kundër një politikani, po nuk publikohen në vazhdimsi.
So most of the story they didn't publish in other media, just in Insajderi, but in sometimes when some media they have the interest to attack the businessman or the politician that we are writing, they publish, but only for that politician or businessman who are against them. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
ELISA Musliu. ELISA, you have experience and you did a lot of stories for Fix Fare. I always wondering, and I like to know how safe you are in Fix Fare, because I saw you in very dangerous situations sometimes, and some people when you shoot, sometimes they like to push. To push, yes. But you survives years and years, and you have a very big influence to the Albanian audience and public interest, and you show a lot of open story because people will see what's happened directly with your cameras and everything. And how is your experience?
Is it open? Yes, of course. Thank you. The problem is that when you see these people pushing me is because they don't want to answer the questions that we are making or the problem that we want to raise. So if someone tells after 10 days that I'm not going to answer to your questions or I'm not going to give you the documents, I go and wait at his office from 8 o'clock till he finishes work, and I'm going to interview him in every way. He doesn't want to speak, don't speak, but I am going to put the microphone and give you a chance to speak. I often get like people saying that, how can you stay like 4 hours, or you're not afraid to do that. I just checked my bank account and I am today €100 minus. So I'm free to speak my mind and free to tell the facts as they are, and that's what I have done all these years. And working for Fix Fara, which is a show on a national television, and a good national television. I can't say excellent, it used to be. But we are still producing and investigative video reporting every day from Monday to Friday. It's not always investigative, but mainly it is. We face a lot of problems, but we have someone who protects us, which is our editor. He doesn't protect us like, oh, don't do that or don't do this. But when it comes to our safe, he is the one who takes responsibility. So the problem in Albania is with freelancer journalists. They don't have access to documents. They don't have answers. They are after 15 years, I don't want to work for Fix Fara anymore. But I see it as a program where I can speak my mind. For example, we did an investigation about food, butter. I had this tip that the butter was made by palm oil. And I went to the shop, I bought like a lot of butter, and I went to the National Institute. They did some analysis, and only one butter came out to be just butter that you can eat. The others were from 40% to 60% just palm oil. And that was very bad for the health of people. So, and 6 of these producers were paying a commercial to the television I work. So it was a big question, are they going to show the names of this producer because they are paying for the commercials? But when it comes to public interest, I was, let's say, surprised, because their names were on the show as it was, as it happened. The next day, they made this huge conference like, you're a criminal, you have been paid from the mafia to do this. I went to the prosecutors, they called me because they filed a request. And when I went to the prosecutor, he said, I know you have done a good job, and that was a good job. And I felt safe that moment, but that was in public interest. But if you publish things that are not, they have to do with politicians or with a judge corrupted, that's not that easy. My colleagues have been threatened, but we have tools like we use hidden cameras and we use undercover journalists. Nobody knows them. They have a low profile, but they keep us safe because I can use them to do the investigation, but nobody knows them. So I am safe in a certain way because I didn't do that. Somebody else did, or somebody else offered the filming, or we don't reveal our sources or how it was produced, so it keeps us safe in a way. But there is another problem with the portals, online media. Nowadays, they are all reporting like investigative publishing, and when you go through that, they are not like true facts, or they are paid to tell that. And for example, we have a big case now. Our former Minister of Internal Affairs is accused of being a drug dealer, and like years ago, there was a freelance journalist. He interviewed a former officer that claimed to have proof that the former minister, that time he was a minister, was a drug dealer. Nobody showed that interview in national television. But when this Catania investigation, I don't know if you've heard, is on and is going like these days, the Zagani case, which was the interview of this freelance journalist, was all over international television. So this is like two standards media. If that was a big thing back then, why didn't you report it? And you are reporting it now. So these are mainly, we don't have like journalists being killed, but we have journalists beaten up, threatened with their lives, with their families. I have colleagues which are not living in Tirana or in Albania. They have gone abroad and asked for asylum because they didn't feel safe to stay in our country. And I hope that this will change.
Do you have a problems because you are undercover, or you are with cover cameras, and with the prosecutor because of that? Because in my country, a lot of politicians and other people like to accuse you that you are you're doing that wrong because of his privacy.
It's private life. It's not of our concern. But if you have a public life and you are making like deals in the public office, of course, I can use the hidden cameras, and mainly we don't care if they are going to sue us. We have a lot of open cases. Nobody won. There was a minister. We exposed him for asking sexual favors to an employee, and he went to France, I guess, and he won like €1 of compensation because he was filmed inside his office in his house, in his home. So, but the law in Albania, it's not like strict when to use the hidden cameras or not. But every time we have like investigations with hidden cameras, because they are not always with hidden cameras, we have the prosecutors come in our office and take what we have in recorded, or sometimes we don't answer them or we don't give it if we have to keep the source like confidential. So they threat us, but
I saw that video with the minister, with the girl, and that is public interest. And what's happened with the minister of the end?
He now is a director somewhere.
But he's not minister anymore.
No, we forget a lot, so it's not a surprise if you see him as a minister.
Yeah, because I question this is because if it's any influence on the government, on the ministers after your stories, some moral interest, some public interest, and they're afraid, they're ashamed, they're going out of the office after that, and after showing that kind of stories.
Oh, if they don't feel ashamed, they go and say like, it wasn't me, it was a cut. How was it? Ishte I montume,
It
was
editing.
the editing. You edited it. For example, the minister was saying this. These damn bracelets, I can't take them off, and he says, "No, I didn't harass her." Like, they managed to.
They're on the power. Keep their places.
No. We have ministers that were fired after we published. The minister that we are talking about of culture, he was fired after we published the next day. We have a lot of cases when people are on the show, for example, tonight, and the next day they are off work, or they are fired, or they are expelled until the situation is cleared, or they are even arrested. We have judges which have been arrested. We have worked with the prosecutors in some cases, and they have been successful, especially for the judges.
For the end, how is your experience with cooperation with your colleagues in Italy, Greece, Macedonia? Because I saw that you are worked out of the country, not only in Albania.
I can go to Greece, but I have to stay at the border for at least 1 hour or 30 minutes mainly, because they have to take a copy of my passport, the police, and they have to check if I have like hidden cameras with me. They won't allow me to go in the country with a camera. And even if I go with my family, they will still do the same thing. They will check but with the colleagues in Greece, I haven't worked like with journalists. In Italy, yes, I do. We have a good collaboration with this investigative association. We have collaborated, but one time I was investigating about an agreement that our government had with the Vatican about a hospital that was going to be built, and it was going to offer like free health care to people, but it turned out that it is now a university, and it is like students pay like 4,000 euro per year to go to this university. So the hospital, it's not there. And when I asked a colleague in Italy to ask the Vatican, because I didn't have the accreditation to do that, and she said that, "Oh, you don't live here, so I cannot ask them what you are telling me to." So I didn't get any answer from my government, from the Prime Minister Sali Berisha, that was a former Prime Minister, and even from this, the Prime Minister that is now that time he was the mayor of Tirana. He didn't answer to the. So that investigation went like nowhere, because it was
without answers. Yes, this is general problem these days. I did the story about some people from Macedonia, their escape in the other country. I like to try to work together with the journalists from Bulgaria and Greece, but that was the same answer from Macedonian, Bulgarian and Greece police, no answer at all for that case. And we were blocked in our investigation. I share your experience. Thank you very much that you share all of your experience and your idea how to cooperate in the future, your model. Thank you very much. Maybe to think to do movies or books or some articles to try to be more commercial, but not like a media commercial. Maybe we journalists to work on that like persons, or to go to work on that together. And I hope that you have questions. Okay, please.
One question for Mr. Blaž Zaga and one for Ms. Milka Smilevska. The one for Mr. Zgaga. This will be not a rhetoric question, a rather poetic one. What were you thinking when you were in jail? What will save you? Did it seem to you that you're gonna stay there forever? Did you get desperate? And what helped you to keep on going? Religion, something else, whatever. And for Ms. Milka, what do you think about the Ms. Milevska? Sorry, what do you think about the situation in the Journalist Association of Macedonia? Are they really helpful for the journalists? Do they? And even tell us about the PEN Center, because they reacted, for example, for Mr. Kazarovsky, they reacted, but they didn't react when Serjan Kerim became director of MPM. Then they didn't. The PEN Center didn't react. You know what happened. We know who he is, and he never worked ever as a journalist, and he received the National Award for Best Journalist from Nikola Gruevski personally. Thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe I can start. Maybe this is a misunderstanding. I was prosecuted, but never sentenced, nor I was any time in detention. I published in June 2000 top secret documents which revealed that US Defense Intelligence Agency has been collaborating with Slovenian military intelligence against then Federal Republic of Yugoslavia. And later I faced house search by the police. I was also for this week followed all the time, and I later realized, get information from sources from the intelligence that they have been seriously considering assassination of me. Anyway, yes, I survived also with the help of some sources who, how to say, helped me in some way. It was quite complicated and dangerous, but all I faced was, yes, I was, during house search, yes, it was, whenever you have police house search, it's always a part of detention. You cannot leave, you cannot make phone calls at this time. So then it was a big scandal, publicized not only Slovenia, but also other Balkan countries. And basically, yes, then the pressure followed. Yes, it was a request for court investigation written by state prosecutors against me for revealing military secret. But finally, my lawyer made good defense that we won at the end with an argument that this document, I didn't commit a crime because this cooperation between American and Slovenian military intelligence was illegal because there was no international agreement between the countries. So we get safe in this way. But anyway, it was a critical time. It was just after bombing of Belgrade 1 year later. And it was real intelligence operation. But yes, again, with the help of cross-border collaboration also from other colleagues in Croatia, Serbia, it was easier to sustain all this pressure.
I can say only positive things for our journalistic organization. I think in the future we must strengthen this organization to be an occasion to help more to the journalists. They now can help us if we need with free law help, I think. Yes, they organize some trainings, and you know, always some things his position about some issues maybe are not so close to some journalists. In other way they are, but that is normal, because in this organization members are maybe more than 200 journalists, I think, and more. I can say on the end that it's very, very important for us journalists to be organized in some networks, organizations, syndicates, and because in that way they will offer to ourselves help in easy way.
Do you have another questions maybe? Or this is the end of this debate? I hope that you are wait for the movie, Ravnica bez ptica, Fat Land Without Birds, in being production. And I think after the break, 43 minutes, you in the same place will be this movie. Thank you very much for all of the participants and for the audience for this debate. What was not easy to hear all of this situation through these countries, but I hope that will be better.